welcome you all on behalf of the NIT Sikkim family on the occasion of Abhiyantran 2K17. As we move further to the fourth chapter of our socio-technical fest, we couldn't be happier to have with us Mr. Rajendran Dandapani.
Mr. Dandapani, after actually ungraduating, out of IIT Madras as an engineer in electronics and electrical communication, was part of the founding team at Zoho Corporation, then called Web Nms. Later, he spent 7 years at Zoho, which is Asia's largest new age marketing entity, as their chief algorithms officer, managing projects and services for clients, including Citibanks and Sci-Fi. After rejoining Zoho Corporation in 2004, he has been serving a dual role at the company. He spearheads mobile development at Zoho with a bunch of 100-odd creative designers and developers that build mobile app for Zoho's 30 million plus customers. He is also a tech evangelist and avid speaker who tries to share hard-earned advice and best practices from his dozen years of professional experiences. Beyond the work, he is a contra-academician at heart, feeling strongly that the education system in India needs a reboot. He now walks the talk, doing his own small bit by free schooling. He's 17 years old, sir.
Such a great personality. I would like everyone to give a huge round of applause to welcome him on stage and say the honorable knowledge. Welcome, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. So I have split my talk into two parts. I'm going to talk to you about the company Zoho Corporation, the little that will make sense from your perspective, and I'll also talk to you about the journey we undertook as a startup company 21 years ago and lessons we learned along the way. So that is why I have titled them Rules to Learn, but you need to break them. Right? Let's get started. We are Zoho Corporation. We've been around 21 years. We have 35 million users today. 35 plus applications on the cloud. So we are a SaaS-based company. If you know what SaaS means, it's software as a service. We specialize on building software for companies to take their business day-to-day activities online. So whether it is email or project management or presentations like these or spreadsheets or invoices, bookkeeping, customer support, customer relationships management, every one of these things, every company, every business, whatever their domain is, needs. So our job is to build software and empower people who use that software to just be able to conduct their business online. All they need is a mobile device or a laptop connected to the internet. We are from Chennai. I'm sure you all know where that is. But we have branches around the world. Most of those are marketing and sales offices. Our actual development happens in one particular location in Chennai. We are very proud of this Made in India. Long before BJP brought that Make in India idea, we have been doing it. Made in India, made for the world has been our rallying cry. This is how we have grown over the years. So it has never been a huge influx of people coming in, some acquisition happening, some venture capital pumping a lot of billions of dollars of money, and suddenly a 10% company becoming a 100% company. You will notice that we have grown organically. That is, as and when the needs started to increase, we started getting in more people, and as and when there were more people, we had new product ideas to implement. That's how it's grown. Looking back 20 years in just 2 minutes quickly, long ago when we started itself, there were these established companies like IBM, like Infosys, like Wipro, like Cognizant. These companies were very good, doing such a good job in the services side of the game. That is, building software for somebody else. So we wanted to build what they call IP, intellectual property, something that we can proudly put our name to, our label to. So on day zero, we took that call. We will not go for that easy money. We will not quickly try and say, okay, more and more body shoppers and headhunters are coming. They want software for Bank of America. They want software for the United Kingdom's traffic management system. Let's pump in more people and get some projects done. We took that call long ago, and we are very happy that it was a very culture-creating idea that we had at that time. Once upon a time when we started, our software was actually UI-less. We didn't have UI at all. We had software for managing projectors, managing routers, managing printers that were out of paper. That was our first product. Right? We sold them to OEMs, that is people like HP, Kyocera, Epson. Those were our target customers. We didn't touch the actual end user. We didn't even have a user interface. Along the way, Java came in and said you can write it once and you can run it in any number of devices. And we thought perhaps instead of actually concentrating on these original equipment manufacturers, every company has one IT department, some corner underground room where they have to manage the IT services in that particular company. Right? So people like setting up username, passwords, setting up access control, firewalls, defenses, and all that. So we thought that might be a good market to go to. And Java was just picking up at that time. And today, when Web 2.0 came in, when the browser started becoming, stopped being just a window for consuming information, and instead became a beautiful window where you could actually create stuff. Right? You can create presentations online, you can create customer interactions online. When the contributory effect started coming, they called it Web 2.0. We thought that could perhaps be a good wave to ride. And when we started doing that, we realized everybody in any company doing any sort of work is actually a target customer for us. So once upon a time, Java was the selling point. Then we decided to diversify. In startup terminology, they call it pivoting or pivoting. That is, you start by doing something, and then suddenly you realize the market is showing something else as the next big thing. And today, for example, AI and ML is the pivoting point. Everybody is starting to sell machine learning. Right? So we saw the pivoting point, and then we moved on. We saw that the cloud, storage on the cloud, computing on the cloud was a great opportunity to ride. And that's how we went forward. So again, when we started the company way back, we called it Web Nms, and we were very happy that we had 5,000 companies like Epson and HP who were our customers. 5,000 customers was a big number. Then when we started looking at IT departments across the world in every company, we realized, okay, 5 lakh customers. 5 lakh IT departments around the world uses our products. But today, even 5 billion will not be enough because we are looking at every person in every company touching our software in some way or the other. Right? So we have software for marketing, for campaign management, for email marketing, for social media monitoring. Right? What are they talking about your company in Twitter, in Facebook? Nobody calls the 1-800 number these days. If internet is not working, they tweet about some internet service not working well. You'll have to quickly jump in before that Twitter storm becomes a raging fire. Right? So what is the sentiment analysis? You can analyze both the language, right? The kind of language they are using when referring to your company. So that's a very huge domain these days, social media management. We have products for technical support where people ask for customer support over phone, that data is recorded, important keywords are tracked, it becomes an email, and then that continues into a discussion forum online, right? So they call it omni-channel customer support. And we have software for sales, right? Where you process the customer support funnel, they call it. When a lead becomes a prospect becomes a customer, right? And we have products for finance, where every company needs to invoice, needs to bill their work, their hours of work. We have products for people management, HR, recruitment, and people management like leave taking and forms and so on. As you see, every aspect of any business online, we are able to address over the past 20 years. And we have products for productivity like storing on the cloud, your documents on the cloud, presenting on the cloud, word processing on the cloud, and even spreadsheets on the cloud. And we have chat, and we have email, and we have a Facebook-like intranet product which is very well suited for the modern millennial generation that's entering the workforce these days. We have products for collaboration, screen sharing, video interaction across distances, and we have products for IT management, right? So every mobile device these days becomes a computer when you bring it into the office. That has to be tracked, what apps are installed, what products, what software is going out, what malware is coming in. So we have products for doing that too. So all that put together is what we call the operating system for the business, right? So we call it the operating system for your business. All right, so we didn't start yesterday. We've been doing this for 21 years. And seriously, when Zoho was born, it was around 12 years ago, we didn't have this grand vision of what we will eventually end up doing. Today we are selling a product called Zoho One, and that's the only product we want to sell. We want to say all the 35 different products that we have are actually 35 features of one amazing product called Zoho One. That's how we are morphing the whole system. But that's not some grand plan. You don't start the whole game saying from day one, 11 years ago, that this is what we will end up reaching. We start by wanting to do something interesting. We start with a startup mentality. So I'll now scoot into the startup mentality, and from books I have read, people I have met, and my own company, when I look back into my own company's people and how they have been creating and launching these products over and over again. So I want to share these 7 learnings with you. So if you look at it, what is a startup? This actually personifies what a startup is. It's not neat, it's not clean, it's dirty, it's messy, it's interesting, it's collaborative. Not everybody will do it. It's pretty risky. In fact, your parents will say don't do it. That's the picture, right? Don't try it. Join some large company, get married, right? That's the advice we will all get. It's messy, and most importantly, you wouldn't really know what you're actually going to invent, discover, and get as a result. That's the true nature of any startup experiment. Aim for something interesting. Aim for something that nobody has done before. Aim for it and do it fast. Don't take a 10-year period to do it. Do it fast, quick turnarounds, instant results. Keep changing if something is not working. Keep morphing, keep changing, and keep documenting your service. So what's a startup? In 2007, before 2007, this is how all smartphones looked like. In fact, the word smartphone was a misnomer at the time. Most phones looked like this. Large plastic and metal keyboards, small screen, various form factors, some of them curved, some of them even looked like a spacecraft about to be launched. After 2007, almost every phone that came out started looking like that. What happened in 2007? Somebody wake up from your lunch and answer me. What happened in 2007? The iPhone was born. Right? So when a path-breaking change happens, and when everybody else follows suit, and nothing else works. Once they, in fact, this is a documented story that Andy Rubin, the creator of Android, was actually driving on the highway when Steve Jobs launched his phone. He was listening to the Steve Jobs talk where he was launching the iPhone. He parked on the side of the highway and called back to his team and said, "Drop everything you're doing. We are redesigning it. This just won't work." That is the power of something that's path-breaking, something that's going to change the whole perception of how you look at things. That's also the power of something called 0 to 1. Okay, so assume you have on the x-axis, right? You have on the x-axis time, and you have on the y-axis innovation or progress achieved, and so on. So if you see this curve, this is the logarithmic curve. When you are on point number 4 and you go up by 1, you are actually getting 20% better. If you are on point number 1 and go up by 1, you are getting 50% better, 100% better. If you are on point number 1000 and go up by 1, you are actually getting 1/10 or 100% better. But assume you are on point 0 and you make that first step, that +1. When 0 becomes 1, right? That zoomed in area, the numerator is something, but the denominator is goddamn 0. So what happens to the innovation factor there? It is infinite. Right? Most startups focus, that's the art of the start, they focus on that path-breaking moment. Nothing becomes something. Something becoming something better we can all do. Everybody can do. You won't be remembered for it. But from nothing, bringing out that little something, that small spark which will light 1,000 fires, that's crucial. That's not easily duplicable, and that is special. You'll be remembered for it. There is this book by Peter Thiel. He is the founder of so many companies, I can't even list them, but he is the guru of PayPal. Right? He created PayPal, and then he created so many more companies. In fact, people who worked with him in PayPal quit the company and started so many more companies. So many that they even have a small gang called the PayPal Mafia. Right? Such a big company. So he wrote this book called 0 to 1. And from that book, as I read pages and pages of that essay, so many relevant nuggets of information I could borrow, and I could connect back to what we were doing at our own company. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. In 1897, this was perfected. The mouse trap, we all knew, a cheese, a spring, and a small wooden plate to hold it. 1897, James Atkinson has actually invented it and patented it. Can this be improved? Have you seen a better mousetrap? Didn't you instantly recognize this as the mousetrap you use at home? The mousetrap we saw in the movie Mouse Hunt? The mousetrap Tom and Jerry keep playing all the time with? But can you look back at something that was invented in 1897, a calculator, for example, or a fan, for example? Do you think you can even identify it compared to the fan you have today? Nothing has changed in the mousetrap. But you know what? 4,400 patents have been filed. They continue to be filed even today. In fact, the mousetrap holds the record for the maximum number of, sometimes useless, innovative ideas that have been submitted and even been granted patents. This has been granted a patent. 26976. Go look it up. The mouse comes, pulls at the cheese, triggers the gun, bullet shoots the mouse. Right? That's a patent. So, you can either be the first. If you want to do something as a startup, here's a triple mantra. You can either be the first. For example, Can anybody recognize this? Anybody? What company does this logo belong to? Netscape Navigator, one of the oldest, rather the first commercially available, meaningful multimedia web browser. Right? This company doesn't exist now. You can't even download Netscape Navigator today. But the man made millions, billions. He is a venture capital guru today. Mark Andreessen is his name. So he made it famous because there was nothing else around at that time. This was the only browser you could use to consume multimedia content on the internet. One more example to be the first. Any idea what that logo belongs to? What is that? What company does this logo belong to? Again, this company is not around anymore. This company is Hotmail. Hotmail, they branded themselves with H capital, O small, T capital, M capital, A small, I small, L capital. Why? HTML it seems. Right? This is the first HTML web browsing compatible email on the web. When this came out, this was the first mail service which said, don't bother which computer you're on. You log in, you get your mail. You people are so young, you were born with Gmail perhaps. Right? You wouldn't understand what it was when my professor said, oh, I'll have to check my email, it's in my hometown. I'll have to go home and dial up, connect to the internet and download my mail and then only search for it. See you later. That's not the world we are living in. Our mobile phones have email, our laptops have email, our Apple Watch has email. Right? All that, the seed was sown when Hotmail said, you don't worry about the client, the browser is your client. HTML, Hotmail is the server. It got bought over by Microsoft. Today, if you have a @hotmail.com email address, people will scorn. People will look down upon you. Because there are so many better services that have come around. But that guy made his millions. So be the first at something is one nice idea. But not always can you be the first. Because there are so many innovations happening all along. And you have come in late in the game. You can be the first in artificial intelligence perhaps. You can't be the first in browser compatibility because that's been around 30 years now. The second thing you can try to be, if you can't be the best, if you can't be the first, is to be the best. So be the best. If you are the best, you can beat somebody who is already in the game, who is already has become the first. Let's look at some examples. Yeah, instant recognition. Even though it's a copy of an idea. It's a copy of an idea that's been doing well in the internet long ago, since a very long time. So he innovated in his own way and he brought out so many cost-cutting approaches. So Ola sharing, Ola auto, and Ola helicopter also came up, I guess, as an April Fool's joke. Right? So he innovated and made it the best. So he was able to overcome the concept of not being the first. Oh. We are not the first in any of our products. I didn't hear you. Somebody said something? Every product that we have made was not as if it's never been done before. All we have done is tried to innovate on it, tried to make it work with the other products that we have done, and tried to make it a little better than what exists already. That's a good example. The third thing you can do, if you can't be the first, if you're not good enough to be the best, do something different. Zara hatke, they say, right? So do and try something different. You all know this. Whether it is good or not, I don't know. But it sticks in the mind. Kya chal raha hai? Yeah. Isn't that such a recall? Everybody was talking about pumping in more gas. And this guy said, okay, no gas. Probably he must have had a leak in his tank. When he started selling, probably the tanks were leaking. He said, okay, let's run an ad campaign quickly and say, gasless. Probably. And you can't talk about different without talking about our big guru, Steve Jobs, right? Think different. Right? That was his biggest rally cry. And every time he launched a product, he brought out something different. He was the guy who said unibody, a machine that's completely made out of a single piece of aluminium or magnesium. He was the guy who said floppy disks not needed anymore. At a time when floppy disks, do you know what floppy disks are?
Yes.
Okay. You use it for tea coasters perhaps? Right? So he was the guy who brought out a computer and said no floppy disks. He was the guy who abolished the CD-ROM drive. When companies were selling CD-ROMs, secondary DVD-ROMs and all that, this guy said the cloud is the future. Do not bother about any disk drives. It will run on solid state memory. Storage is now solid state memory on the Macs. Blindingly fast, no errors, that's good. So he was the guy who innovated. No keyboard, he said. Everybody was having a touch keyboard. This guy said the keyboard will come up when wanted as software. That's innovation, that's thinking different. So the triple mantra is try being the first at something, try being the best at that thing, or do form. Try to be different, think different. And we all read these books, right? We all read these cricketing books. The cricket rule book has not changed in 110 years. If you go back, Wisden rule book of cricket, it wouldn't have changed. That's why we are able to compare a Gary Sobers with a Rahul Dravid. The standard, the copybook cricket style has not changed. They all say eyes should be level, head over the bat, back foot back and across. That's the correct stance, even today. It's not as if, oh, the game has changed, you have to read a new copybook of cricket. That's not changed. But 129 runs in 52 balls, 10 fours and 12 sixers. Who is this? Did he read that book or not? Do you think he didn't read that cricket book? Of course he did. But he was smart enough to go beyond. So I go back to my original slide. Learn the rules, but they are not the boundary conditions for you. They are the platform for you to stand on and innovate from that moment forward. Get it? Let's get into the rules. I have 7 rules for you. And I have 30 minutes. Okay. The first one, engineering rule. Can you create breakthrough technology instead of incremental improvements? That is, if your company is a technology company, is that creating a breakthrough change, right? That 0 to 1 kind of change, not something incremental. Oh, 1000 became 1010, no big deal. Take a look at this. Do you notice anything wrong? It's not, oh, the word is wrong, yeah. It's not even the QWERTY keyboard. In fact, this is a QBYURSO keyboard, much more ergonomically designed, so friendly to the fingers. It seems if you practice on this keyboard, you can type 10 times faster. But why is this not famous? Why is it not that everybody uses this keyboard? When this keyboard came along, at that time, it could only make it 2 times faster. And you could do it at your computer. You can't take it elsewhere. Because when you go elsewhere, it's that person's computer and that computer's keyboard is QWERTY still. It's an established standard. If you want to go against an established standard, you need to be magnitudes faster. You can't just be incrementally faster. On the other hand, when this guy came out, when Google came out and said, here is a search engine. We will just show you a simple box. You type what you are looking at. You can even tap the button, I am feeling lucky. We will take you instantaneously to that amazing web page which we know is what you were looking for. When this guy came out, he was the 17th or 21st search engine. Can you name some search engines before Google? Bing. Bing before Google? No way, guys. Yahoo was a search engine. Yahoo was not a search engine, it was a directory rather. Alta Vista was a search engine. Hotbot was a search engine. Exile was a search engine. These were all born and they were buried before you were born. Right? So these search engines, they thought they had an algorithm. They could track the keywords and all that. Google said, the only algorithm that will survive on this dirty web is how many people link back to you and how many people link back to those people who link back to you. Simple, neat, amazing, bug-free. When that guy came out with that algorithm, even though he was not the first, he became a runaway success. So engineering-wise, have something that is not just incrementally better, because the established standard will be against you. It will look like an insurmountable wall. So when Zoho itself was trying to do software, we said, okay, you want to do word processing? You don't need MS Word. You can do it on a browser. You want to do PowerPoint? You don't need to do presentations on PowerPoint. You can do it on a browser, we kept telling that. That didn't work. Only when we brought real-time collaboration, that is, I can work on my Zoho presentation suite, when somebody in Chennai can work on same slide, different text box, can keep editing it. Real-time live collaboration, that couldn't be done in PowerPoint at that time. When that was brought and slapped on the face of customers, they started moving. So you need to look for these earthquake changes, seismic changes. 6. Timing. Is now the right time to start your particular business? It's a question each of you need to ask when you're starting up a job, a product, an idea, a startup. I don't know if you recognize this product. This was the first PDA, Personal Digital Assistant from Apple. You can't even recognize the Apple logo. It's a rainbow logo down there. In 1993-94, I think. It bombed. It fell like a stone. Nobody could even use it for a day. Nobody bought it even. It was a product ahead of its time. It had handwriting recognition. But you know what? When you say something has handwriting recognition and it doesn't recognize your handwriting, you think the problem is with the software. You don't realize that mom and dad didn't teach you good handwriting. Right? That was what went wrong. That is what is going wrong with Cortana, with OK Google, with Siri even today. We talk to it in Nepalese and it doesn't understand a shit of it. Right? But we blame the software for it. A time will come when we will realize that. So, Newton, the product from Apple that could recognize handwriting, bombed because it was a product way ahead of its time. But this company, what is this? It is reaping golden harvests again and again. Because it has come into the game at a time when fossil fuels are actually a problem. 50 years from now, at the rate we are burning things, our children can't drive cars. Okay, he's also bringing up a driverless car. Can't go in cars. Right? So, he hit upon a ripe time when he says this is an electric car, it will go only half the distance, at half the speed. You don't bother. You still buy it because you realize the alternatives won't last for long. Timing again. In our own case, I don't know if you know who these people are. You cannot. I myself didn't know until I put up this slide. They are Sorbonne and Oxley. Two famous lawyers, two famous accountants who brought a rule in the business community called the Sorbonne-Oxley rule. And they said, if a person leaves the company, that person's email can't be deleted. Everything has to be digitally audited and tracked for 24 months after that person has moved out. Because Enron, all those big scams happened and the paper trail and the digital trail stopped. Because that person quit the company or some data got erased and if somebody trashed a file, you can't trash it. You have to preserve it in the cloud trash. These guys brought rules. So for Zoho, a company that has everything on the cloud, this was an amazing timing for us to pitch our products. If you have an email client on your computer, you can delete a mail because that's no longer stored in the cloud. But if all of your mail is anyway stored only on the cloud, and whenever you would log into your mail, we only show a window to the mail. Business email already complies to Sarbanes-Oxley. Right? Again, timing. 5. Monopoly. Here is a good question. The question is, are you starting with a big share of a small market, or the opposite, a small share in a big market? What is the pond you're swimming in, and what size are you as a fish? That's a question you need to ask yourself. You can't try doing a browser now, right? It's a crowded market. Everybody has completed. 99.99% of the market is exhausted. You can't come and say, this is my project, please invest in my product. I have an amazing browser. What? Nobody wants a browser. There is no unsolved problem that's itching everybody every day. If only we had a better browser. No. So don't talk about this. Similarly, this game is over. Right? Microsoft tried, Apple tried with their maps. It went nowhere. Their map products went nowhere. It is still the ruling king of global positioning and maps. Again, the point is, don't try to enter as a small player in a game that's already exhausted and saturated. On the other hand, do you know which company is this? Oh, wow. Can't recognize this? Okay, this? That was the first interface. They used to call it the Facebook at that time. This was the first interface. And I'll remind you to one or two lines in that interface. It says, the Facebook is an online directory that connects people through social networks at colleges. This was already version 2. Version 1 of the Facebook was just for that hostel, for that dorm. Small monopoly. Only that hostel. Version 2 was that college, all dorms. Version 3 was many colleges, many dorms. Only when they knew that they had a real game, a real product, a beautiful platform on top of which much can be built, they risked and said, okay, here is something called Facebook that connects people around the world. Many years it took for Facebook to take that risky step. Again, the rule here is start in a small pond as a big fish, learn the game, learn what it is to go without food for 3 days, learn who are the enemies and who are the friends, learn what is swimming, and then try to jump onto the big sea. Today, for example, we launched a product called Sprints. It's a Zoho product for a specific project management category called Agile Programming or Agile Project Management. We are very few. There are so many companies out there who are doing project management tools. In fact, Microsoft has a project management tool since the 90s. 93, it's had a project management tool. But we saw Agile project management doesn't have a product for itself. So we said, okay, why not launch a project exclusively for people who use Agile project management methodologies? That's doing well. Again, the rule here is start as a monopoly in a small playing field. 4. People. Do you have the right people in your team? You may have a great idea, you may have that good momentum going, you might have written code, done some design, done some market survey, but beyond that you need a co-founder. You need somebody to work with you. Right? So how do you find the right people? Here is a quick lesson. Look for founders, yes. Look for hackers, sure. Look for geeks, absolutely. No. Okay? So, this is not to denigrate or talk badly about any academic institution, because the game here is different. If you look at this curve on time, here we have product maturity and revenues. If the product maturity is high, if it's a mature product and the revenues are very high, you will notice that traditional management works very well. If the company has aged, there is no uncertainty. The MBAs will hit sixers for every ball. But when the product maturity is low, when uncertainty is high, when the revenues are non-existent, you will notice you need something called entrepreneurial management, right? Where you need to wear different hats on the same night, where you need to understand the chemistry of people working in a small garage, eating pizza and running on coke. That's a different game. There is no place for an MBA there. So if you are looking at starting up, don't do an MBA and don't have anything to do with another MBA. Right? Be careful. I don't know if you know this story. Steve Jobs, he brought this superstar MBA guy from Pepsi. He was the CEO of Pepsi. Steve Jobs had an amazing interaction with him where he asked him, hey, come join me. Do you want to sell sugar and water all your life? Or do you want to come join me and make a dent in the universe? That was the pitch Steve Jobs made to make this guy join Apple. Within a year, what did this guy do? Scully. He fired Steve Jobs. I don't know if you know the story. Steve Jobs left. 11 years later, he came back. When he came back, Apple was 90 days from bankruptcy. 90 days from then, Apple would have had to file bankruptcy. And what did Steve Jobs do? He launched the iPod, he launched the iMac, he launched the iPhone, he launched the iPad. So beware of MBAs. At Zoho, for example, we have multiple easy doors for recruiting people. We have something called Zoho University, where we take students right out of 12th standard and give them targeted training in English, maths and programming and computer. 18-month program. At the end of the 18 months, we intern them in our company, and 1 out of 10 employees you see in our company today haven't seen the inside of a college. They are right out of class 12. Think about that. And we also have an incubation approach where we have an extended interview. We firmly believe that sitting across the table and talking to a person, where do you see yourself in 5 years, kind of questions, will lead you nowhere. So we take them in, we give them a stipend, we give them a 15-day period or 21-day period, we give them projects and we ask them to prove themselves. That's worked many times. And of course, word of mouth. If you know somebody who works inside, that really helps, because we ask that person, if you were running Zoho, would you recruit him? That's a good full stop question, right? That works for us. Moving on, look for the 10th man. Do you know this movie? Of course you know. World War Z. Do you know who the 10th man is in that movie? There is this story where Brad Pitt is visiting Israel and they show this tall wall that they have constructed around the city. Do you remember? And they ask him, Brad asks him, when nobody else were doing anything, how did you manage to build this wall? Where did you get the lead time? He said, long ago, our elders wrote in the documents that there should be the concept of a 10th man in any committee. And he said, form every committee with 9 people and add a 10th man to it. The 10th man has only one mandate. The mandate is, if all the 9 people unanimously agree on something, it's your mandate to say, I disagree. Right? When all 9 people are unanimously moving like sheep towards some right or wrong decision, this guy's job is to say, I disagree, please change your minds. Have a discussion at least. Have a debate. Think independently. Don't ape yourselves, don't be mirrors of each other. We don't need 9 people there. Right? So look for people who consciously are mavericks, who buck the rule. Right? We don't, when somebody comes with 100% attendance to us, sir, we got this certificate, I was 100% attendance in college, it's actually a negative score for us. Right? If you are a first bencher with 100% attendance, you haven't thought independently. That's our problem. Because at our company, independent thought is the most valued and most hard to find quality these days with students. Moving on to third point, distribution. So do you have a way to create, yes, but to distribute the product also? You need to have a way. In fact, if you've been watching Shark Tank episodes, whenever somebody comes and says, I saw my daughter, anybody Shark Tank here? People who watch Shark Tank? I have been stitching dresses for my daughter and everybody in the school said, this is so good, why don't you stitch for everybody? And I started this small business called Stitches and Kitches or whatever. The first question these Shark Tank investors ask is, what's your distribution model? How are you going to get it across? How are you going to compete against the established companies like Walmart and Amazon? Right? So you need to have a good distribution model if it is software or hardware or anything else. So one example that we had that we will encourage you also is to get the word of mouth across, to get our product virally spread. We didn't do this. Here is a company which is saying tap to continue and register your name, birth date, mobile number, gender and region. Why? I wanted to download an app or I wanted to download something. It's asking me, wait, I'll give you the download link, but give me these 7 informations first. That's a put off. 20% of the people only remain, 80% leave when you show them a form like this. In the world today where everybody is afraid of privacy laws, why would you want to take my gender and my region? It's a dating app? No way. So we said, you want our software? Take it. We immediately gave it to you. As a footnote, while you're downloading, to help us serve you better, why don't you give us this little information? Your email address or your phone number and right time to call you. That is how you approach. Right? Don't be on the face and don't try to prevent something from being taken from you instead of before first getting something in return. 2. Durability. Will your market position be defensible 10, 20 years in the future? Right? So if you, for example, say I have come up with an amazing way to do customer service, the first question should be, will chatbots overtake you next year? They are coming up very fast. AI powered chatbots are coming. So look the long term. Look at the marathon, not at the sprint. Here are some examples. Do you know what this product is? This website is? Again, it probably died before you went to school. Orkut. Yeah. Orkut was the greatest social network. In fact, it had more Indian adopters than American adopters. Why did it fail? Why do you think it failed? It didn't have a distribution model. It didn't have a way to grow. It simply remained a social network. Instead, what did Facebook do? Facebook said, we have a network. Facebook said, we have a way to scale. Friend of friends, friend of friend of friends, social graph, it said. People you may know, it said. And it also had an amazing branding, and on top of which, it had a platform you could create games on, you could create applications on, it brought artificial intelligence into it, it brought advertising into it, targeted advertising into it. That is what stands for durability. For example, if you say, I have a CAPTCHA today, the CAPTCHA problem is actually solved. You know what CAPTCHAs are, right? That small squiggly letters. That problem is already solved. AI and machine learning has actually made that problem a solved problem. It's now 2-factor authentication perhaps. You can't log in without a second OTP number coming to your mobile device. So don't talk about products that will die at the advent of artificial intelligence coming in, for example. So don't talk about cars when driverless cars are coming in. Don't talk about cars when air taxis are coming in. Think durability. Don't think about, hey, what can I do in 2 years, make $1 million and run away and take a yacht. That's not what the world is here for. In our own company, for example, this is how we did it. This is the gold rush, the California gold rush, where everybody was looking for gold. Right? Not everybody found it. There were so many people who died. In fact, legend has it that only one kind of people really made money in the California gold rush. Do you know who? Any quizzers here? Only one kind of people really made consistent amount of money in the California gold rush. These are the people. The people who sold the others crowbars, axes, spears, sifters. In fact, Levi's jeans was born in the California gold rush. They had to sit everywhere, they had to drag their dress everywhere, they had to use it roughly. And most of the dresses were getting torn. Here was a guy who said, okay, 10 times thicker, even if it is heavier, it will last. And that guy is here even today, making 5-pocket jeans and 7-pocket jeans and thin jeans and torn jeans already. Right? So we identified that you do your business, we will just create and produce products that will help you do your business better. So we thought durability like that. The final point is, what is your secret? Have you identified a unique opportunity that others don't see? Right? In fact, anybody recognize what this picture is? Huh? Yes? Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola? Formula, yes. So this is supposed to be the safe, thank you, where the Coca-Cola formula is kept secretly, right? So gone are those days, guys. There is nothing called a secret. Even today, if Google releases its algorithm for search engines, you can't reproduce what Google has. Because Google is great because of its data, not because of its software, right? Remember that. So gone are the days where you could have secrets like these. In fact, there's nothing inside. It's just a false bit of urban myth. So when I look at human goals, I look at them in 3-4 levels. The first ones are conventions, right? If they're easy, everybody can do it, have a good life, run a happy family, go to work, come back, retire, and all that. Those are all easy. You can't really make a dent in the universe with something like that. And then level 2, there are hard secrets, right? Something like how to become a billionaire, or how to, like I went to this Buddha park this afternoon. So what is happiness? How do I achieve happiness? So those are all hard. They are conceptually, they are secret, and they are hard. And then there are mysteries, right? How to live forever. That's a mystery. How to have no disease at all. They are mysteries. Things that are probably unsolvable. So I feel if you want to start something, you need to start there. Your sweet spot has to be between hard secrets and impossible mysteries. So that is, see, people are saying, we don't want 140 characters, here is 140 more characters. That's not going to change the world. What is the point Twitter being launched? What we want is reusable rockets. What we want is alternatives for fossil fuels. What we want is a cure for cancer. Those fall in that sweet spot. So in your urge to start up, do not ape people, do not look for those easy money, do not fall for hard targets. Look for that sweet spot where you can make a change, make a dent in the universe. So again, the 7 rules to